you just turned 30.
Yeah.
A novice your age, oh man, I put 30 pounds of muscle on that person in 4 months for sure.
No, absolutely. I was just
It's the easiest thing in the world.
We're back for another episode of Sup Beast. As always, Zane Spruce, Neal Spruce, and today we're going to be talking about muscle building and strictly muscle building. Okay, so not so much like body composition. We'll get into that further, but focusing strictly on how to build muscle, like that's your primary goal. And so, important to mention, you were a pretty prolific bodybuilder back in your day. Would you say prolific's the right word?
Yeah,
Or
sort of. Yeah, I mean, I made it to the top, and I say not the top, but certainly I competed for 17 years and was a bodybuilder for 20. And I was able to make a living at it there towards my last 6 or 7 years, thanks to Gold's Gym hiring me. I just won the Western America, Western USA, and then went on to place in the top 10, always top 5 even in national competitions before I finally retired.
And then you mentored a bunch of bodybuilders as well?
Oh, yeah. I got so many bodybuilders ready for competitions, all the way from the likes of Rich Gaspari to Flex Wheeler, who actually got him for all his Arnold Classics, all his diet programs for him and so forth.
So you focus more on the dieting stuff.
On the dieting side, right, yeah, for sure.
Less the training, more the diet.
We always had a Gold's Gyms where everybody came to. Yeah. You know, we always had guys that they would work out. No, I worked out with these guys, like Mike Christian. In fact, we competed against each other years, and I actually beat him one year. And then we would work out together. Mike Quinn, of course. So we all worked out together. So people knew what they were doing. And there was always a top somebody there, like Charles Glass used to be like the guy to go to get trained. He was a former Mr. Western America, Mr. Universe as well. I think he's still doing it, actually.
So it's safe to say, rather than your exercise knowledge, you know how to put muscle on the body better through nutrition.
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah, that's why almost all of them did at some point. I mean, even the female bodybuilders, top female bodies, from Jackie Paisley, Anya Langer back in the day. Was it Anya Langer? I forget who the one was. There was a lot of female bodybuilders that I worked with as well. And then all the top male, and many of them that were in the Mr. Olympia.
So even better, not nutrition.
That's the hard part.
Yeah.
The exercise is the easy part.
Yeah.
That's the easy part.
I mean, you're not. How do you classify yourself actually? Like a nutritionist?
No, not at all. I'm a non-scientist, if you will. That's what I always tell everybody all the time. I do have a teaching credential in diet and nutrition, but that's an adult education teaching credential that you have to prove you're an expert in the field. But I mean, my credentials pretty much speak for themselves. Not because I was a successful bodybuilder, because a lot of successful bodybuilders really don't know that much about nutrition. But I've studied it deeper than anybody. Yeah. I've been published in peer-reviewed journals, peer-reviewed books, and so forth. So, I've earned it. I've built nutrition programs that are used around the world, literally by millions of people every year. Yeah. And that continues on. So that would call me an expert and own the.
I know you're an expert through what I've seen in my life. Right, that's exactly. For sure.
Because it's one thing to say I work with a lot of bodybuilders put on muscle, but think of all the pro athletes I've worked with. And all the celebrities I get ready for.
Trust me, I know.
Yeah, they walk through our house, so you see them in our facilities and so forth.
No, of course. I'm just saying for the masses.
For the masses. Well, when it comes to body composition, when you need to have a certain body composition, like when celebrities have to get in shape, because they have to do what we call a shirtless shot, or again a semi-nude picture. They've got to be in shape, and they're generally not ready for it when the production is on to keep on schedule. So I get a call, and that's when I do it, and I get these people. I can change your body from nutrition with nutrition. I can change your body in 7 days, what it would take anybody else that thinks they know a lot about nutrition, maybe they're a PhD in nutrition, even weight loss and everything else, it would take them 7 weeks. I'll do it in 7 days. And that's why people come to me anytime.
But it'll be miserable.
Oh, it'll be miserable. Oh, absolutely. But when you get paid $50 million for a movie,
right,
you'll do whatever the hell I tell you to do.
Yeah, no, I just want to lay some groundwork on, who you are, and that, I know for a fact, based on what I've seen just in my life and being your son.
People around.
And
all the gifts all these people send us.
And then myself, I get, not the most jacked human being or shredded, but, I get compliments too. And that's just all because I follow what you do. So, I mean, there's that. You're just like a nutrition expert.
Yeah, exactly. And body composition more than that even, that's what it really comes down to. For me, it's always body composition. It's not losing weight. That's a joke. You can amputate a leg and lose weight. It's about body composition. So you never want to lose muscle, except in the inevitable part of your life, like myself. At 72, there's no way of dying at 100 years old looking like Mr. Universe. So at some point, it's going to go the other way. You want to slow it down. That's all.
So with that out of the way,
Yep.
safe to say you're a better nutrition expert than you were a bodybuilder, and you're a pretty prolific bodybuilder.
Yes, I would definitely say that.
There you
Certainly, the businesses that we own and have run and built and operate have proven that.
No, of course. Okay, so we're talking strictly building muscle. Okay, that's your goal. I just want to build muscle. I'll worry about body composition down the road. Okay, so what is the muscle in our bodies? What is the function? What is it composed of?
Well, you're talking about skeletal muscle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure. I mean, or you can
you have
distinguish
cardiac muscle. You've got you've got smooth muscle, like that's our intestines and so forth. But those are just all different proteins. We have thousands and thousands of different proteins in our body. Okay. So let's just talk about skeletal muscle.
Yeah, we're talking about skeletal.
Right,
it's good to distinguish.
Make sure you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we have type 2, type 1 fibers. Generally, your endurance athletes are predominantly type 1 fibers. They give us that. They can carry more oxygen. They can allow your body to go longer, stretches of time and handle oxygen better. Where the type 2 fibers are the ones that hypertrophy more. Type 1 really don't hypertrophy, don't get bigger. The type 2 do. So, people with that really put on muscle quick, they've got a high ratio of type 2 to type 1 fibers in the body. And there's type 2A and type 2B, but we're not going to get into that. There's no point in making people sideways.
Yeah. How is it formed, and what is the function of muscle in the
there's
body?
20 what we call proteogenic amino acids that make up the skeletal muscle, right, in a certain chain. And, you got myofibrillars in there, you've got your myosin and your actin myosin, all these little other proteins in there that make it contract and work. And so what we want, the more work we give it, the more it has to adapt to that work. I think anybody can identify that, right? So the more you do something, the better you are at it. And your muscle is a big part of that. So when we overload the muscle with weight, it has to adapt. So your body's got to rest as it repairs itself, and then it gets bigger as long as you're getting enough calories and protein. Those are the two things that you've got to be able to do so that you're getting what you need. Because whenever you take in, let's say your body needs 1 gram of protein per pound of lean body mass daily, okay? That's what it needs to be able to do whatever you want it to do. If you want to lose weight, if you want to gain muscle, whatever, that's still the right number. And then what you want, the extra protein, right, that you're taking in daily is going and being deposited in your lean body mass rather than as body fat. Yeah. So that's why weight training comes in. It tells it to go there because you're overloading the muscle, and so it's crying for more protein to build bigger.
And so that's kind of some things I want to get into. So when it comes to muscle building, what is the role of exercise to
overload the muscle? Okay. In other words, so for instance, let's say you don't work out. You're born. And as soon as you're standing up, okay. Now, when you're born, remember, you got these hormones going crazy, and the growth of an infant is pretty quick, as every parent has experienced. They're bigger the next day. It kind of happens. Once you start moving against gravity, you're working out. If there was no gravity, we have no muscle.
Right.
We'd just be blobs because nothing's working. So when you move against gravity, and whether you're walking or picking things up or any of these things, your muscles are working. And if that's all you do, then all you're going to do is have enough strength to do that. Now, if you start overloading your muscle more, so you're moving in planes of motion with weight, okay, or you're lifting weight, well, then your body's going to adapt to that movement. Or let's just say you're a farmer and you're throwing bales of hay, okay? Bales of hay, all right, like I have to do every once in a while. Well, then you're going to adapt to that. Your muscles are going to get a little larger. There's that old sort of wives' tale about the guy that had a baby calf, right? Baby calf, and every day he would carry it out to the pen. Yeah. And so every day his body would adapt, and he's carrying a full-blown cow after a while as it adapted to that. And that does give you a visual, though, of really how it works. Your body has to adapt, so it starts building more fibers. so you can handle that load. That's what it's called.
All right. I guess that begs the question: what type of training is best for muscle growth? Resistance?
Yeah, so resistance for absolute sure. There's no question. And you've got to have, if you're going to continue to grow muscle, then you've got to have what we call progressive resistant training, which is unaccustomed on a regular basis. Once body gets used to it, you start doing 10 reps with a 100-pound dumbbell of curls.
Right.
10 reps with a 100-pound barbell bench press or whatever.
That's a heavy curl.
That's the most your body's ever going to do if that's where you stop. Yeah. And that's as big as your muscle needs to get to do that. But now you start adding 150 pounds and you start doing 10. And you kind of shock it. One day you do 5 at 180 pounds, and then one day you do 20 at 120 pounds. Now you're really kind of shocking the muscle, and it's reacting differently to higher reps, lower reps. We used to always go high-low days. Yeah. So each body part twice a week, so it had time to heal.
Yeah. And
then on your one day, you're going heavy, so your reps are somewhere between 6 and 10. And then on the light days, they're between 10 and 15. And then, so we just switch them up. And
there's a million different ways you can stimulate the muscle.
I know guys
challenge it, right?
Yeah, I know guys that only did one set. I mean, they'd warm up and then just do one set and move on to another exercise for another body part. And they still became bodybuilders. Good ones. So there's lots of different ways. You don't have to. I mean, the volume we used to do was definitely overkill.
Yeah.
Bodybuilders that are much bigger than I was, even in my day, the ones today. And of course, we know that's got there's some pharmacology involved in that nowadays, so I hate to even bring it up. But they do far less work than we used to. We definitely overtrained back in the day.
You kind of touched on rest and, how often you should be hitting a muscle group. Like, what is too much and what is too little?
Well, I mean, that's still debatable. I think we have through, just anecdotally and so empirical evidence.
Yeah.
We know that you can work out, if you work out intensely once a week, you could hit each body part once a week and continue to grow.
Yeah.
It really probably comes out to more than 1.5 times a week.
Yeah.
Like 4 days on, take 4 days to do a whole body, rest a day, and then 3 days, and then the next 4 days on again, that kind of thing. And then rest, and then 4 days and rest. So it's like maybe 1.5 times a week, depending on how much load. Now, again, you can do every body part every day if you don't load it up that much.
Right.
You're just moving it and trying to keep it loose.
But you're probably not building
But
muscle
you're not going to build
way.
much. No, you've got to have plenty of rest to build. Really good 72 hours between body parts is a good number for people. When we look at the way muscle heals, it takes about that long to do it.
72 hours?
Yeah, usually about that for a full recovery.
Yeah.
Right? So what is that? How many days is that? I forget. 3?
3 days. What is anabolic versus catabolic?
When you're working out, you're 100% catabolic.
Which is what?
That's all you're doing is tearing down muscle.
Catabolic
is the catabolic in the body. Right. Means that everything is being broken down now. So the post-absorptive time of the body is 4 hours after you eat. Your body is now all catabolic. In other words, it's all just going down here until you eat again. And, protein's being broken down just constantly. That's what goes on in the body. You're probably breaking it down. Now, if you don't eat, you're going to reuse a little bit of your old protein, but not all of it. So eventually, if you don't eat at all, we all know what happens. You shrink. You're catabolic until you die. You follow me?
Yeah.
Your body is never back in an anabolic state. In other words, what I mean, a positive protein state.
Yeah.
It's all about a positive protein state means you're anabolic.
Okay.
Right? A positive carbohydrate state means you're storing glycogen, you're anabolic. Okay? But a negative is about 4 hours after you eat. From there on out, each part of your body is going to be a little bit negative on your protein balance. That's why until you eat again, it doesn't go back up. Now, like I said, you can skip. And then it'll make it up somewhere, but not all of it necessarily over time. Because just think, and I try to put this in perspective for people. Just think. Okay, let's just say I just ate lunch, and I ate, let's say 800 calories. I had 50 grams of protein. Well, I'm definitely starting to be anabolic. An hour later, as I digest it, it goes into my bloodstream. I'm now in an anabolic state.
Yeah.
Repairing everything from my day before, whether I worked out or not. Your cells are all reproducing every day. So I'm repairing all that with all this stuff. Everything's happening. Okay. So I'm now anabolic. 4 hours later, I'm going the other way now. Okay. After about 4 hours after that, you're now going the other way. Now, again, but not everybody eats every 4 hours. Let's say you didn't eat for 6 hours, 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, 15, which is very common when you go to bed at night and wake up.
Right.
You're catabolic all the way until you eat again. What I mean by that is you're not in a positive protein balance where you're increasing the amount of protein in your body. That's the positive, that's anabolic, when you're increasing the amount of protein in the body, wherever it may be. Whole body protein, not just skeletal muscle protein, whole body protein, because you're replacing all your tissues, your organs, your skin, your hair, your nails every day. Okay, so bottom line is that now after 4 hours, again, you're in a catabolic state and everything is just, turning. And then when you go to work out in the gym, you are really catabolic because all muscle, I always have to question, I'll have 1,000 people in the audience go, how many people think exercise builds muscle? And they all laugh and say, of course they all raise their hand. And I go, it doesn't. All it does is tear down muscle. Doesn't do anything else. And by the way, if you don't, and I go like, they always stare for a minute and they go, oh, yeah, it just tears down muscle. What would happen if you didn't eat after you worked out? You would just shrink and die eventually.
Yeah.
So you go, what if you didn't eat before your next workout? You're getting smaller and you work out again. And now you're tearing that down and it's trying to reuse all its own as it shrinks. Because as it reuses it, you're losing it too.
Yeah.
So all of that, so you just get smaller, smaller until you die. And of course, everybody knows if you don't eat, you eventually die. You just waste away. That's catabolic. So what you want to be when you're putting on muscle is in a positive protein balance all day.
Yeah.
So that extra protein is being deposited in lean body mass.
Right. And then, you always hear.
It can't just be protein. Remember, you have to have carbs for a good workout.
And we're about to get into all that, the role of each thing, carbs, fats, and proteins when it comes to building muscle. Yeah. So since we're on the topic of anabolic, catabolic, what is the anabolic window? And is that now a myth? Like some people are saying,
no, it's one of those fun. It's one of those things that scientists like to debate. And it's funny because scientists they just don't live in the real world like I do. Not to mention the thousands and thousands of real live professional athletes and college athletes and actor and people that I have to change their body automatically. I live in that world on my own. But the millions of people that go through the programs we create. Okay, so the bottom line is you need 1 gram per pound of lean body mass every day if you want to remain active as long as possible, as long as you live. That is a condition of that. Because the older you get, the more protein you need as well. But 1 gram per pound of lean body mass will cover it. Yeah. Because younger people do better with less protein. Okay. The older people, because we're not supposed to be here, our body's resistant to it. So you need that. So who cares? Now, timing, the 4-hour window, that's how that all came about. Back in the 1930s, scientists always knew that body has a 4-hour cycle of building muscle, tearing it down, building muscle, tearing it down. And you're just going to keep going lower until protein comes back in. So we know that, right? But the argument against timing, doing it every 4 hours, not argument, but is that you'll make it up somewhere else. And to tell you the truth, the most important thing is to get the total protein for the day.
Yeah.
But that means there's never a chance of hitting that cycle. But we also have studied it enough to where we know that smaller boluses of protein are better than 1 large for the day. Yeah. We know we get more protein being accruing in the muscle. The anabolic window, it's more really for endurance athletes and athletes that want to restore the glycogen back to the muscle. No one argues that. When you take a fast-acting carbohydrate before your workout and right after your workout, it will restore the glycogen so you have now much more energy for your next bout of exercise. That we know. That's inarguable. We've known that for a long time. Protein, that started coming into place about, I think it was Tornopolsky or someone back in the late 80s when they started saying, well, protein's the same thing because you got to eat every 4 hours. And we're really going to beaten up our protein then, so we might as well have it before the workout so we don't break down as much. So you got extra there. And then at the end, fast-acting protein that gets into that so-called anabolic window that we know that exists for glycogen restoration. So they included the two. And, most of the studies concluded that, you're probably going to get a little extra muscle building by taking a protein shot before and after the workout, along with a little bit of carbs. You have a better recovery also. Because carbs are very important to recovery as well. Anyway, so I go like this. So when I go, okay, so this recently, these scientists, I just think they like to play games, right? Oh, I'm right. No, you're right. I'm right. No, you're right. And these are just wishy. It all goes back and forth, flip-flopping back and forth. Bottom line is this. You got to have 1 gram per pound of lean body mass a day.
Yeah.
So you might as well take one shot before your workout, one after, because intuitively it makes sense, right? It definitely does. It might be a little bit less breakdown on the muscle just because you've got muscle instead of using some of the, because a long workouts will cause you to burn muscle just for energy.
Yeah.
And if you can have a little in there, that makes a little sense. Whether that's all the way true, who cares? And then right after a workout, why not? You need the 1 gram per pound. 25 grams before, 35 grams before a workout, 35 after. You got 75 grams out of the way. So why wouldn't you do it? Because it'd be pretty hard if you want. You have to eat 175 grams of protein because that's what you weigh in lean body mass or whatever. And by the way, you don't have to go lean body mass if you're lean. You can just use your own body weight.
Use your body.
So anyway, I hate to see you eat that all in one. I hate to see 175. That would be the most uncomfortable human being on the planet. Trying to cram down 175 in one, even splitting it in two, stupid.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. Just split it up. And don't worry about it if you did miss it. You can get every 4 hours. No big deal, right? But the more often you hit the cycle, the better chance you have long-term chance. Don't forget, protein doesn't make your workout better. It makes your recovery better, so your next workout's better.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a compounding effect over time, getting enough of it there.
And so when you're saying every 4 hours, like, because your skeletal muscle can't absorb all of the protein you're taking, and if like I don't know if it's a myth or whatnot, but they say like it's like 25 to 35 grams of protein at once for your skeletal muscle, right?
Yeah.
It will be used throughout your body now. We know that, right?
Yeah, that's a joke.
That's a question.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. It is. When I say a myth, I mean I heard it back when I was a bodybuilder from everybody. I would look at people. I'd be doing a seminar for bodybuilding. This is back when I was a giant, and I'm up there, so they're all listening what you're talking about, and I go, so. Let me ask you something. This 25 grams, that's all your body can use at one time, so we'll just have 25 grams at each sitting. Well, how does that make sense? So if you're a 450-pound world's strongest man,
but that's why I
which,
said
by the way, we
25 to
work with
35, you know, it differs for people, right?
Yeah, that's what I just said. That's what I'm trying to say. So
yeah, but I'm saying for the people that are like, oh, I just eat it all in 2 meals or whatnot, that's not, because we're talking in the context of muscle building, right?
Right.
That's not ideal, right? Because
no, it's not.
Skeletal muscle can only absorb a certain amount.
Well, there's only a certain amount. We call it the muscle full effect. And I think it's 0.2 grams per pound of body weight. That's about what it is. So if you're 175 pound of lean body mass, you know, or right in there, okay, then you're probably going to need about 35 grams of protein at once. Your body be able to use 35 grams of protein at
your
one
skeletal muscle.
Your skeletal muscle will be able to use 35 grams of protein in one sitting. So the 25 is bullshit.
Right.
It's still by weight. A 450-pound strongman is way bigger than a 90-pound gymnast. We work with those Olympic athletes. We work with the world's strongest men. Obviously, the world's strongest man that weighs 450 pounds is going to have probably his skeletal muscle use over 100 grams.
Right.
And it depends on your workout,
okay,
too.
so, and that's what I'm saying, though, that, like, I didn't mean to, like, give you a hard number there. Yeah. But there is a number.
There is a number.
That's what.
It's called the muscle full effect. And that number, I think, is 0.2. And again, I don't have all my stuff. I mean, this is all my lectures. Right. I think it's 0.2 grams per pound of body mass. Okay. So if somebody want to do that with a calculator, you can do it right
that's
now.
what they're going to have to do. And
right.
that is,
that's per meal. That's probably as much as the skeletal muscle can use.
Which is probably what you want to have every 4 hours, is what you're saying.
You want a minimum of that. You probably want more.
Yeah.
Because unless you don't need more.
Yeah.
Because don't forget, the rest of it's going to go to your livers and go to all your trillions of cells are replacing themselves. It's called whole body protein. We're looking for a positive whole body protein balance. Otherwise, you know, you're not going to get enough, and that's how people just kind of they lose body mass. They lose lean body mass when they're dieting, especially because they don't get enough protein and so forth, and that's all it's doing.
Muscle full effect.
Muscle full effect. That would be about 0.2 grams per pound. And if I'd get the math wrong, so you can put it on the screen.
Yeah.
Put it on the screen for somebody.
That kind of covers the role of protein in building muscle.
Yeah, as long as you're getting more than the body normally uses, right? And you're getting enough to recover the muscle that's been tearing down and then all the lean body mass that's been all the muscle from your exercise. And then you take a little extra. Because where do you want it to go? You want that extra to go into your lean body mass.
Yeah.
So you get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger as far as you can. So that's why those numbers are there.
All right, and then you kind of touched on carbohydrates and their role.
Yeah.
You you need carbs.
Two things for building muscle.
Or you don't. I don't know.
No,
The ketos
carbs are
out
not.
there.
Unfortunately, carbohydrates are not considered an essential an essential nutrient, or what we call a nutrient. Now, it's kind of redundant when you say essential nutrient, because a nutrient in the science community means it's essential and the body can't live without it.
Yeah.
That's the definition. Okay, like your vitamins and minerals. Your body can't live without them, right? You're dead. Your life doesn't even start without them. And it's a shitty life when you don't get enough of them. People just don't realize how shitty it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so all your there's 9 essential amino acids that are they are essential. Okay, okay. The other ones can be made in the body from the other 9 essential or from other different proteins and so forth. Okay, so anyway, carbohydrates. Now, when it comes to muscle building, if you're in a muscle building phase, you want about a 2-to-1 ratio of carbs over protein. So if you're getting 200 grams of protein daily, you're going to want at least 400 grams of carbs, and the rest can be fat. But fat's in the protein, it'll be whatever else you're eating, your fish. So that's the goal, because that gets your testosterone levels to the high. These people that stay on high protein diets all the time. No, I'm sorry. High protein. High protein diet. Don't forget, when you say 200 grams, you weigh 200 pounds. That's not a high protein diet. Now, if you're talking to some, lame scientist that doesn't really understand sports nutrition, they'll go out anything above the RDA is high protein. And the only thing the RDA is good for is sedentary small mammals when it comes to protein amounts. That's just a joke. For some reason, no one's rewritten it, and it should be, but no one gets paid to do that, so they don't bother with it, and no one eats just that anyway. So the bottom line is, carbohydrates are not above that. In other words, they should be about 50% of the total calorie. If you're eating, 5,000 calories a day, 50% of it should probably, like 2,000 calories anyway, 2,500 should be from your carbs, or 2,000 or so. Yeah. That brings your testosterone levels up. Your androgens come up. So your testosterone, DHEA, androstenedione, these things will naturally come up with carbohydrates, because carbohydrates are really, even though protein bumps insulin too, insulin is the most powerful hormone in the human body, most powerful, obviously. So we end up anabolic hormone too. So carbohydrates stimulate insulin more than protein, and you get both of them going, and your insulin goes up, your growth hormone, your insulin growth factor, all these things go up. It raises your testosterone levels. And I just did a whole little report on that in the Practitioner Dietary Supplement Reference Guide. It's second a bodybuilder finishes a competition, because you can't be high carbs, obviously. At the end, you're dieting, your carbs are the last thing you need. Okay? So those are all going all the way down. The second you get done, you get back to your high carbs, get higher carbs, and then be able to jock your testosterone up. So yes, that's how they're important. But the second part of it is energy. Yeah. That's the first source of energy in the human body. They're the first things to be converted to glucose, which is the only currency we use as far as sugar goes, into our muscle and so forth. We have much better workouts, and that's been shown all day long. You might get away with a couple of workouts, low carb, just running on adrenaline. Right. But again, that's going to wear out after a while. You get lightheaded and dizzy and all that. So yes, carbs are really muscle building, absolutely important.
Yeah. That's all we're talking about is muscle building. Exactly. So whatever important is pertinent to muscle building, please. Say that.
Yeah, get your carbs back up in the off season when you're not dieting. I'm telling everybody that right now. If you want to gain the most muscle possible.
We're not even talking about dieting, so we're strictly in a muscle building phase right now.
So about half your total calories should be from good carbs.
What role does fats have in any of this?
Well, I mean, you can't do anything without fats. There's essential fatty acids, and without those, life doesn't keep going. So you're going to get that. I mean, it's just like vitamin and minerals. But again, like your omegas, there's an omega-6 and there's an omega-3, the things that we have to have. So you've got to have a little of that. But there's also they play an anabolic role in the body too when it comes to hormones. It can actually kind of change things. So you definitely want that. It's a longer lasting source of energy. It's an important source of energy. We make some other they're in our membranes. All the cell membranes, our muscle membranes, the cells of our, everything require fats. So therefore, fat's got to be there. But fats, you don't have to, basically cover your protein needs first. I don't care who you are, right? Second thing then is you're going to be your carb needs, and whatever's left for your calories that allow you to have your desired body composition is fats. And they should be, as we talked about before, unsaturated fats, pretty much, most of them.
Yeah, so they don't really contribute, though, necessarily to
Well, they contribute to the rebuilding of the body.
Right.
Yeah, they recruit all the cell membranes, so you have to have them there.
Yeah.
Or if you don't have any fats in your diet, you got to have the essential ones just for life. So
Right.
we got that. And then that, much, but they don't have a direct anabolic quality, if
Right,
that's what you're
okay.
saying.
Yeah, yeah.
They don't change your hormone levels
Okay.
to a certain extent. They maybe a tiny bit,
Yeah.
depending on how much you're taking.
I mean, with all that said, I'm just curious, like, is it much harder to build muscle on a keto diet? If you're
Well,
not
listen, there's
consuming
so many
carbs?
different types of keto diets. A keto diet really is a high fat diet.
Right.
But when you look at a bodybuilder, or not a bodybuilder, but you look at someone that's lifting weights and they go on a keto diet, it's high protein and fat. It's just no carbs.
Right.
Okay, so there's
That's what I'm saying. Is it much harder to build without the
absolutely,
carbs?
absolutely. Yeah,
That's
no,
all
it's comical to anybody that's ever, studied the human body, and when you look at studies as well, like intermittent fasting and keto diets, true keto diets, are completely less effective at building muscle than a standard, carbohydrate, protein, fat diet. They're not even.
I was
Not even-
just
yeah,
curious
that's-
because you told me you're saying like pretty much like carbs are very important to building
sure.
muscle, and
Absolutely.
so I was just
and
curious.
your hormone
like,
levels and all those kind of things. Yeah.
are my ketones out there like who are trying to build muscle kind of
And
hindering themselves?
they must be reading something really strange, because I get everything before it's published.
There's some weird shit
As you
out
know,
there.
I'm tied into think tanks. I get things well before they're published. They're all in draft form and everything else, and I have to actually prove some of these things before. And these are top peer reviewed documents.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at them, and you'll see all of them. It's really impossible to study too long. Anyone. It's very expensive, very difficult to do over 1 year. Put someone on a real keto diet over a year. You're not going to get the amount of protein you need. It's going to be very high in fat. Measure their health parameters before and after. And the amount of lean body mass they put on at the end of a year, and they had full workout regime. Now, goal was that versus someone that's doing the 50, 30, 20, whatever, carbohydrate, protein, fat. And I hate to use percentages. They're getting all their protein and carbs like we talked about.
Yeah.
And they're going through there. It won't even be close. I mean, it'd probably be pounds of muscle difference, all the way around. Not to mention the miserable life of being on a real keto diet.
Yeah.
I mean, the good news, people don't stay on those things very long because they're miserable. They may adapt to it. Now, don't get me wrong. Keto diets were very effective for clinical conditions. They actually came into it because of, certain people that had certain diseases. That's how keto diets were actually formed in the beginning. So there's definitely for epileptics, seizures, or all types of things. It's a clinical solution for some people, but not for hypertrophy.
Yeah.
Muscle building.
Yeah. And hypertrophy is different than muscle strength, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, size and strength aren't necessarily.
A lot of people don't know what hypertrophy is.
Mutually
What is
exclusive.
hypertrophy? That's just the
hypertrophy
growth.
is just growing.
Growing.
You can have hypertrophy of your fat cells; they're growing.
Right.
Hypertrophy of your eye or something, it's swelling up or something, whatever. I mean, that wouldn't be different though. But hypertrophy would just be natural growth.
Let's get into what role does genetics play in muscle building?
I kind of hit that in the very beginning about type 2 fibers, type 1. That's one of them.
Yeah.
But there's a bunch of other ones too. So if you have more type 2 fibers, you're going to be an explosive athlete. You're not going to be a long distance runner if you're predominantly type 2 fibers, and no question about that. Back in the old days, they used to actually do biopsies to find out what you would be. Like the Eastern Europe bloc would do that to their when they're young, find out if they're type 2 or type 1, and put them into those sports, for that kind of stuff. So yeah, no, without a doubt, that's one part of it, not all of it. Then you get into just other things. I mean, there are your hormones in your body, your testosterone levels. Okay, how high are they based on your genetics? Or are they being, are they lower, are they higher? And then you've got your insulin growth factor. You've got, there's a myostatin, which is a hormone we produce that tells your muscle not to grow too much. Otherwise, when you work out, can you imagine if your muscle just kept growing? You got to have something to stop it from growing. Or you could, if you worked out every day of your life for 50 years, you'd be a 700-pound monster. And of course, that can't happen. And we have the hormones to keep that in check. So if you had less of that, that's a good thing if you're trying to put on muscle on that particular hormone. So again, that's what it is. The genetics, everything like satellite cell proliferation, which is kind of the scaffolding around our muscles when we tear it down. It kind of, they now, these satellite cells now start growing into your muscle, and so all this kind of cool stuff happens. And so everybody does it a little bit different. Everybody's an individual, so genetics play a very large role in you being able to put on as much muscle compared to someone, or the most muscle you can compared to something else with a different genetic makeup.
Right. So,
But most people will never even get into being a bodybuilder if they don't put on muscle very quickly. They'll never even,
right, and I'm not saying
Or
necessarily, but so some people like, and because we're talking about like in a natural state too. We're not
So am I.
getting into
I'm only talking about natural. I'm not saying one word about steroids.
Okay, so
Natural.
body-
Everything I just said all
so
relates to natural.
bodybuilding, not in that.
Yeah,
sense,
yeah.
right?
No, I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
We're not mentioning one thing. We just know
Right.
that we know by adding, pharmacology, by adding drugs to you, all your natural drugs are going to be higher, which means everything's going to go faster, heal faster, and get bigger.
Right.
We depending on the workout.
So some people are hindered by their genetics.
But genetic, absolutely, have predominantly type 1 fibers.
Yeah.
You're going to be a runner. I know people that work out harder than other people, and they just can't put on muscle. I mean, it looks like string beans.
And
still.
that's with doing everything right.
Yeah, doing everything right. Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, the same thing with your regular growth hormone levels, your insulin growth hormone, the whole feedback loop, all of those things that could be a part of it as well. But more on the fiber types than anything else when it comes to those things.
So the people that are out there that like want to be jacked, some of them don't have a chance.
Yeah, no, they don't. They're like, now, don't get me wrong. There's a thing about ectomorphs, endomorphs.
Right.
and
I was gonna answer.
Yeah,
ask
but
that,
I mean,
so that's great,
and
yeah.
mesomorphs.
Right. Yeah.
And mesomorphs, they really become sort of the better. And I'm using bodybuilders for an example because of their structures.
Right.
They have a medium-sized bone structure and they handle good muscle bellies. But you can be an ectomorph, but still be able to build big muscles. So again, it's not completely locked down by that. It's just generally a little different. The smaller the frame, usually don't. You're not going to get giant muscle, but you can have big muscle bellies. I think Frank Zane might have been. Frank Zane was that very famous bodybuilder back in my day, and people called him an ectomorph.
Right.
And if you see him tonight, you see him today. I mean, he's very, really tiny. But again, that's
you need the pharmacology though right?
Oh no, not necessarily. I mean, well, yeah, you do. But you could still put on a lot of muscle if you're an ectomorph. That's not dictating how much muscle.
Right.
Maybe to a certain extent it might, but you can put on, per your size, per your bone size, right?
Yeah.
Because that's what it's about. If you have small wrists, if you have small wrists and small waist,
Yeah.
well, you can have a smaller thigh and look 10 times bigger than the guy with the big knee, or the big waist, because it's just got all these sweeps to it. So, you can still put on muscle. The ratio from your muscle to your bone and your joint sizes is really what we're talking about.
Yeah, and so I guess what you're saying is not so much the body type as in those like ectomorphs or whatever. It's more so really your total genetic makeup.
Correct.
Like that's going to play that body type thing will play a role,
right?
But it's more going to come down to because you'll be
type 2 fibers.
You can be an ectomorph and still put muscle on.
Absolutely.
That you're not locked by that.
No, you're
so
not.
don't let that discourage you, but you're going to find out down the road, right?
Yeah, how far you're going to be able to
go.
Yeah.
And
no one can predict that. It really isn't that easy.
Yeah. I know we're talking about just building muscle, but and we were talking about the diets before. What is like you can build muscle while losing fat or no?
Yes, you can.
Or while losing weight, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, while losing weight. Yeah, of course.
Losing weight.
Yeah, but the only way you'd be doing that, you can only be losing fat then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So right, but that's one thing I'll never forget when I started lecturing on that back in the 70s. I swear to God, I'd have like medical people in the audience. Every once you have a doctor here, and they just go, "That's impossible. You got to eat more calories than you burn. You have to eat less calories than you burn. I mean, you can't do both. It's impossible. They're always going to lose muscle when you take the calories down. All this." And I said, "Well, first of all, I don't need any science to prove it because I've been doing it my whole life as I started bodybuilding, and I do it with thousands and thousands of people right there in Gold's Gym all the time, right? Because I always measured body fat. I'd watch their body fat go down 2%. Let's say it was a 200-pounder, so about 4 pounds of fat loss, and they would weigh exactly the same. So what did I do? Put on 4 pounds of muscle at the same time. So what you're using, you need the extra energy to build muscle. Well, you're getting the energy from the fat.
Right.
So your fat's supplying those extra calories to your body. Muscle only has about 1,700 calories a pound. Fat has 3,500 calories in a pound. So again, it really is. It's always quite funny. But here's the way you do it. You have to feed muscle and starve fat, which means you want to be in a calorie deficit to lose the fat, but you can't be in a nutrient deficit. So you're feeding nutrients without the calories during that. You know, your amino acids, you're getting more protein for less calories. You're taking all your micronutrients because those are part of your metabolism, and that's how you end up doing it. And of course, you've got to exercise. You can't do that without exercise.
Right.
Because otherwise, you're definitely going to be losing a little bit of muscle.
It's diet and exercise.
Diet and exercise, correct. And supplementing.
And
that's what I just said. That's what I was doing.
No.
Calories,
You're leading me right to my next question. Are supplements necessary to build muscle?
No. You could build muscle without supplementing.
Okay.
Now ask the question that you asked a little while ago. Can you build muscle and lose fat simultaneously? No, you cannot do it without supplementation.
Right.
That's what supplementation is. Isolated nutrition, no calories. You're getting calorically efficient protein.
Yeah.
Right? And you're getting all your micronutrients. Otherwise, you'd be losing them. And that's why your body's got to take it out of the muscle.
Perfect.
So,
but optimally,
you always want to supplement. Yeah. Put it this way.
And we're not talking about our baseline. Everyone knows our baseline.
I know. No,
hopefully.
I'm saying I can take anyone that has never worked out before, put them on a diet and exercise program with no supplements, and they'll be able to put on a little bit of muscle. Okay. They want to go to the next level. I mean, I would never, for me, it's malpractice to not make someone take a complete multivitamin a day, every day. I don't care what your goal is. It doesn't make any sense.
And that's our baseline.
Malpractice, yeah. And then the protein amount, as long as they can eat enough protein, the 1 gram per pound, they'll put on a little bit of muscle, right? Now, then the next level, if they want to go to the next level, then you're going to have to supplement if you want to keep going, like creatine and some of the other things there.
I guess let's get into it. And we're talking about just maximizing muscle. We'll get into like the phases of where people are at, beginner, intermediate, and then like, you're kind of a massive person. Like you clearly look like you're capped out. Well, I'll ask about that then. But so what are the best like what is the best supplement routine or regimen to be on to build muscle?
Well, it depends on where you are, your experience. If you have no experience, you come to me, you're a middle-aged male or female, or you're young, whatever, you're going to start with a protein supplements along with carbs in it, like a 2-to-1. You'll take that before the workout, after the workout, and a complete multivitamin and omega-3 if you're not eating fish, period. And your calcium if you're not getting calcium and your multivitamin.
Right. And that's it. And that's our baseline. Right. Okay. So we don't need to talk about.
I know, but here's the thing. Here's why this is important.
Okay.
If you're a novice, you don't need the next level. You're going to do that until your gains go slowly and you want to go to the next level. Yeah. And then we add the next thing, creatine.
And that's the best thing to do. That's
Absolutely.
the best way to do it.
No, I would not start. I will never let anybody start right off the bat with creatine. And that's not true. I let them do it. But I'm just going, I don't ever start a novice, a neophyte, if you will, using creatine. I just go right off the bat. I go, you get your protein, 1 gram per pound. Take this before and after your workouts. You recover, get glycogen storage, all restored before your next workout. Take your complete multi and the omega. Like I said, now your health stuff and your recovery is pretty much covered. Yeah. And then let's say 3 or 4 months down the road, you're not gaining as much muscle because you gain just doing that. A neophyte, I'll put on depending on their age, 1 to 2 pounds a week of solid muscle, and the body fat will drift down at the same time,
depending on their diet.
Yeah, right? Depending on their diet.
But would you recommend them to be? But say they're just wanting to build muscle, like forget about losing weight. Wouldn't you rather them be gaining weight in total?
They are going to gain weight. They're going to gain muscle.
But they'll lose fat at the same time.
They might,
even if they're in.
They might, surplus. But don't forget, I put them on a 500 calorie surplus.
Yeah.
So I weigh them weekly and measure their body fat weekly. Every one of our clients, that's what we always did, right? Weigh them weekly and measure their body fat. Yeah. We want body fat to be the same, and they have to gain 1 to 2 pounds a week. When they're young novices like that. Right. And that's it. That's it's the easiest thing in the world. And then they get so excited. But when you gain 1 or 2 pounds, let's say you gain 1 pound of muscle a month, a week, okay? 4 pounds a month, let's just say.
Yeah.
So now you're 204 pounds instead of 200, and your body fat's the same. You've just reduced your body fat.
Yeah.
Just by numbers.
Yeah.
It's still the same total absolute body fat, because I don't want you to lose body fat generally during a muscle gain cycle, because then I've got to cut your calories down. If I keep your calories up, you will gain more muscle if you don't mind gaining a tiny bit of fat with it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I cut it too close, and the calories now are being compromised.
Yeah.
Because you have to have the calories to build the muscle. So your diet is 500 calories above maintenance. Okay. Your supplements are your protein, because you're not going to be able to eat that much, and you're going to do before and after just in case. And you need the carbohydrate anyway, so you might as well throw protein in that whole thing. So it's 2 to 1 there. And then, like I said, the omega. Now you've got everything done. Your metabolism is going to be fired up. 2-3 months, you got your 8. You put on. Let's say in 3 months you put on 10 pounds of solid muscle, which would be very normal, by the way. Okay, for that person, and probably more depending on their age. And kids going through puberty or right after puberty, I mean, it comes 2 pounds a week for sure. Now you go, listen, the question is, what do you want to do next? Yeah. You want to keep gaining muscle, and then you start going.
That's what this podcast is about.
Then you
today.
start going to the supplements.
Yep, we're trying to gain more muscle. So what's our next step then?
Creatine next.
Creatine.
Yeah, but we didn't even waste any time with anything else at the beginning. Creatine's the next one. Do that for the next 3 months, 4 months. And then might take some active rest. Tell the person, hey, listen, why don't you take some active rest? Don't go to the gym. Get off the creatine. Go to the gym for the next couple of weeks, but work out, but don't go to failure for the next week, let's say. And then you start building up again, building your strength back up to where you were when you were on creatine, which you will without it. And then you add creatine, beta-alanine, maybe the next level, okay, of potential ergogenic age or performance-enhancing age.
Wait, so just rewind that again. You said after 2-3 months, whatever, you gain as much muscle as you could, or you started to, plateau, whatever. Right. Then you start creatine.
Yep.
And then you said, how long was that?
Well, it depends on the cycle. Now we're talking about people just putting on muscle. We're not talking about performance athletes that have seasons.
Right.
Seasons are different.
Yeah, no, we just talking about.
Yeah, right. This is just putting on muscle. Yeah, I would. What I like a good 3-4 month cycle, let's just say, and then when you come off creatine, okay, now what you're going to do. I like an active rest. Okay. Active rest means that you can still go to the gym, but you're just not going to failure.
Yeah.
Right. You're maybe do half the sets that you would normally do. That's active rest. So you're staying active. Go play ball. Go do whatever you love to do. Come back and spend 2 weeks, 3 weeks building up to where you were when you were left off from before. Okay. And then go on another creatine cycle along with add some other beta-alanine or other things. Aminos, aminos are more really, the addition of aminos is really more not for putting on muscle, it's for controlling body composition while you're putting on muscle, because you can get more bang for the buck out of amino acid supplementation on top of protein. We call it protein stacking. That gets a little complicated. That's like the final stage for putting on muscle.
Are we at the final stage yet? No?
Well, sort of. It's sort of. There's a few other things that we can do along the way. Creatine, beta-alanine is a supplement. Right, and we combine the two, which most people do, so you don't have to buy 2 separate containers, but otherwise you would.
And so, let's say you haven't you're pretty well built out at this point, right? And say you've never taken creatine, or you look at me or somebody who's like, I have a decent amount of muscle. If I've never taken creatine, what can I expect from that?
Well, again, it depends on where you are.
Right.
You know what I mean? If you're already someone like yourself and you've never used creatine, you can expect probably a 5-pound muscle gain over a couple of months. Yeah. Okay. Of hard drive. Now, it could be immediately. Yeah. Because your intracellular water may increase, which is a good thing, by the way. Right. You actually build more muscle. If you were a novice and you use creatine, you probably put on a lot more. If you're, let's say, when you don't have the experience you have training and done all the things right, you probably get more than that. So everybody's a little bit different there. They're responders and non-responders. There's no non-responders, but there's responders, partial responders, depending. Just like with drugs or like anything else, some people respond badly or well to them or anything else. And the same thing with supplements when it comes to an ergogenic or performance-enhancing supplement. Yeah. Some people really respond to it, depending on your creatine levels from your diet. You get 1 gram from the diet. If you're an omnivore, you've got to be eating red meat to get that, or like salmon or some seafoods. and then your body makes 1 gram. So you only got 2 grams working in your body during the day. You start adding 5 and 10 because creatine's that immediate energy system that gives you much more power in your, with that window from 0 to 15 seconds, so you can work out harder and build more muscle. That's the whole goal of it right there. And then everybody's a little different. It's like depending on your workout too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'd say that the average person's going to gain 5 pounds in a 2-month cycle of creatine, somewhere in there. The average weighted person, everybody's different. So, and that would be almost anybody. But the more novice and the green you are, the more you'll probably gain.
And when it comes to muscle building, as long as you're not like a complete like start from zero, like beginner, is creatine just like a no-brainer?
Yeah,
when
no
it comes
brainer.
to
Absolutely.
building
If
muscle,
you're not a
like,
beginner, I would just add that right away.
You're just not maximizing yourself, right?
Yeah, for sure. Creatine is definitely the most studied performance-enhancing supplement on the planet. It's not just for, again, especially for the older population nowadays, be able to stave off the loss of muscle. Because, it's not just, doesn't just make you perform better in the gym. That translates to your field of play. So if you're working out in the gym with heavier weights, you're pushing more this way. You can jump higher now. Okay, so if you're a basketball player, you can jump higher, which is obviously important. Your burst of energy are, you recover for your next burst of energy, like a soccer player. Soccer players use it. So when they're running full speed, they can recover faster and get more creatine back, into their muscles, because you've got extra creatine there. And that's that first energy source.
Yeah. And
that's the performance side. The muscle swelling that you get in there, that it tells the body to build more muscle. So it volumizes, intracellular water increases because your muscle fibers are increasing. Muscle is 70% water. So if it gets bigger, obviously you have more water, which is natural. So anyway, you end up, swelling the muscle there. And it kind of sends messages to protein synthesis, increases satellite cell proliferation we were talking about to repair muscle, and increases growth hormone. So all types of good things happen with creatine.
Let's just say we're at that highest level now. What stack are we looking at here?
Well, what I do at the highest level, I will use an amino acid formula that has there's only 8 of the essentials. There's 9 essentials. Tryptophan, we don't need it there's 8 of these amino acids, your branch chain, isoleucine, leucine, and valine, and then 5 other of the essentials, okay, that are needed. And these fantastic scientists, I actually wrote a chapter in a postgraduate book about it. It's the only reason I ran into it. But these fantastic scientists were studying what in a protein, a complete protein that has all 20 amino acids in it, like beef or whey or fish or anything else. What is it of that molecule, the whole peptide? What is it that actually tells the muscle to build? And they isolated these 8 amino acids, not just the branch chain now. Okay, there's 5 others. So they isolated those and they fed these to human beings not working out, and they saw that they could actually turn on the muscle building machinery. These things these 8 amino acids would get by what we call splanchnic extraction. When you take in a whole protein, you got to digest it. It's probably about 3 or 4 hours before it gets into your bloodstream. By that time, it's scattered everywhere. Okay? The liver decides where these amino acids are going to go. We call that, splanchnic extraction of that. And then, but with these, when they're in isolated form, they actually bypass the liver. Like branch chain does the same thing. It's probably an evolutionary. We evolved that way in order to be able to keep muscle moving when we didn't have much food. So it wouldn't go anywhere else. It would go straight to muscle to be able to keep you to be able to hunt. So these amino acids bypass it. They get straight into the muscle cells, and they go right to what we call the mammalian target rapamycin, which is the sensor inside the muscle. It tells you when, okay, we better break down muscle. No, we better build it. We better break down. And these 8, they get right there to the directly, and they tell the muscle, hey, we better build. Yeah. We got all these materials here to build. So even when you're working out, then it's trying to tell you to build. So you're not going to probably break down nearly as much muscle, but more importantly, they are there for the recovery, already there. And so as long as you're bringing that in, if that's constant stream, what you're trying to do is just keep the pressure on the outside of the cell so those amino acids are coming into the muscle. And we call it hyperaminoacidemia in the cell. So because we've got this influx of amino acids, these 8, they're coming into the muscle and telling it to build. the whole time while might be working out.
Yeah.
Or at least even if it's after, it's recovery. So we call that protein stacking. So what you do is you have your regular protein, 1 gram per pound of lean body mass of food daily, which would include your pre and post workout shake.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you've got food, which takes 3 or so hours to break down. You've got that scattered all over the body. Your protein shake, that gets into your bloodstream in within 40 minutes because it's already pre-digested, right? It's all ground up. You understand that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So you take that about 45. I'm telling you, this is the final stack.
No,
You take that about 40 minutes.
Here.
You take that about 40 minutes before the workout. Now you've got those things flowing in there, but they're still, the amino acids are still going to go up through we call it an intact protein. You got all 20 amino acids.
Yeah.
They're still going to go, once you digest it, it's going to go through the portal valve into the liver, and the liver is going to tell it where to go. Go there, go to the brain, go to your skin, go to the liver, go this way, go to the skeletal muscle. It's going to point these amino acids. So now you've got the food one scattering around for extra whole protein synthesis. You've got the other protein before and after the workout that had the carb in it as well. And then during the workout, right before you start, you take like a scoop or two of those 8 amino acids. Say like 12 grams, that would be the max you would need, maybe 15. You take that and you drink that throughout the workout. So now you're sending a signal to build muscle while you're working out, right? So you're sending that signal to build it because those go what? In your body immediately. They're into your portal vein, or they're into your systemic circulation, right? Within probably 10 minutes. And you drink it throughout the workout. Like an endurance athlete would drink Gatorade with electrolytes, with the sodium and all that, and the glucose. Well, this is Gatorade for your muscle. So it's completely filling in, taking exactly what it needs to rebuild while you're breaking it down, and you'll have enough after. So that's called protein stacking. There's 3 different matrices coming in to keep your muscle cell in that state of hyperaminoacidemia. And that goes on, each day. You're doing that's protein stacking. And that's the final level. And of course, you're using your creatine, and you got your beta alanine, right? You got those things there.
Beta alanine is
beta alanine is carnosine is what we really got there. We're looking for carnosine to increase the carnosine level. It's a buffer. It's a lactate buffer. In other words, everyone knows that when they work out, you get a burn, you got to stop. Well, this delays fatigue. Yeah. It makes everything more intense. And when you take it, you can feel yourself tingling. Yeah. And it really reduces the ratings of perceived exertion. It actually, reduces that so you can go longer, harder. Now that just adds to what creatine does. Yeah. So creatine allows that too, but from different mechanisms. It buffers lactate as well, but it also gives you just more energy because that's what creatine is, an energy molecule. This is not. This is a buffer. It gives up its hydrogens to help buffer that lactate so you can go longer and harder. And we see amazing what you can do with workouts when you're on beta alanine and creatine. Okay, so those are the 2 biggies, and then of course caffeine. Caffeine is not only that, it also works similarly, doesn't buffer lactate, but what it does, it delays fatigue. Yeah. You can go longer and harder. And again, a longer, harder workout means that you have greater potential for the adaptation after. In other words, you've created a bigger adaptation, you've done more damage. Well, now you got to make sure you recover, and that's where your protein, your amino formula comes in. Amino formula is not going to make you work out better. Yeah. That's just going to make you recover. So remember, you always got to divide supplements when it comes to performance. So I start all my lectures out like this. You got to divide it into 2 categories. One category is acute performance. In other words, enhancer. In other words, when you take it, you have a better workout immediately. Yeah. Caffeine, creatine, and beta alanine will do that. Done. Yeah. Then and there's some other things like beetroot juice. Some of these things that are out there right now, they can improve performance as well. So now, then there's a second category, recovery. You improve performance through recovery. If you never recover you work out so hard and you never recover, well, then your performance is going to go down. Yeah. So your performance enhancers that get the workout like that, now you recover from that workout. That's your protein, your aminos, and then we have a additional one there, glutamine, that can enhance recovery as well. When you're dieting, it's probably when you're dieting or really intense workouts to be able to support the immune system and everything else, so you don't miss workouts. Those are recovery supplements. So that's performance enhancing through recovery. If you don't recover, you're just going to go down. You're not going to increase performance. So those are the things that are there. In other words, you don't drink a protein shake and go, "Wow, I had the best workout." Yeah. Unbelievable. So over time, that compounding effect from a better workout translating into better recovery, what you would do in 6 months probably takes someone a year.
Yeah.
Maybe if they could ever get there even.
And so
That's protein stacking along with creatine, beta-alanine,
So this
caffeine.
is our highest level. So
Yeah.
walk us back here. We're at the protein stacking, which is
baseline.
just like,
Don't forget baseline.
Right, baseline. We have our baseline.
right.
Everyone knows
Vitamin,
multivitamin, mineral,
omega-3. Yeah, okay, got it.
omega-3 if you got it in
got
your
it,
diet,
got it,
and
got it.
calcium.
Complete
if you don't
multivitamin,
have it
right.
in your diet.
Right.
Okay, so those two are optional if you're consuming it.
Yep.
So we're in the ultimate phase here. We're talking about protein stacking, which just real quickly is the
Your food protein that you're eating every 4 hours. You have a meal every 4 hours. Okay, right?
Yep.
And you've got your protein shake. Just a shake with 25, 30 35 whatever grams of protein, 2.2 per pound before the workout, about 40 minutes, 30 or 40 minutes before the workout. Okay. Then when you start the workout, 5 or 10 minutes, 12 grams of amino acids that are those 8 only. You don't want the other ones, otherwise you're going to have issues, right? Those 8 only to turn on the muscle, keep it building, maybe break down less and recover immediately. Right. And you drink that throughout the workout, finish it at the end. Yeah. And then 30 minutes after that, as soon as you swallow that last bit, 30 minutes after that, your protein shake again. Okay. Exactly the one you took before. And then 30 to 60 minutes after that, your regular full meal. Just like your pregame meal, it's your post-game meal. Okay. Your full meal. That's protein stacking. All 3 matrices.
That's what's going to get you to
jacked, stacked, and Big Mac. That'll be the biggest you can be.
And then we had those supplements that we got to talk about. The creatine.
Oh yeah. Okay. I thought we already added those.
Sorry. But then we got the creatine,
beta-alanine, and caffeine. Use probably. That's just basically.
Is that right before your workout?
Every pre-workout, yeah. You can just every pre-workout has that. Has that stuff in it, yeah. And you can, beta-alanine, creatine, caffeine. And then there's, what we add to ours is nitrosogene, which is a trade name for a nitric acid enhancer, which gives you a vasodilation, moves blood and nutrients in and out of the muscles quicker. And then you get that pump. So that's the other thing there.
So
it's a vasodilator.
So the protein stacking, your performance enhancing supplements, which is creatine, beta-alanine, caffeine.
Yep. And then again, like we were just talking about.
The amino acids is
vasodilators,
And the vasodilators. Yeah. Okay, cool. I guess what is the limitations for somebody as far as putting weight on? Say you're able to build muscle. What, I guess, is there a percentage or ratio to your body weight that you're going to be able to put on muscle? Like how much?
Genetics are going to determine that. If you do everything right, your workout right, diet correctly, and supplement correctly, you're going to find out how big you can get. That's all.
Right.
It's that simple. There is no magic formula. Everyone's different. Genetics determines that formula. Yeah. Now, I think I mentioned this before. I can take an 80-year-old person that has never worked out with a weight in their life and put muscle on them. I could take a 40-year-old person that has worked out their entire life, competed in bodybuilding shows, and never put a muscle on them. Yeah. Because you've already hit your peak.
Well,
without taking drugs.
Let's take me, for example. Okay, so I'm 6 feet, little over, 205 to 210 pounds, roughly anywhere between, 7 and 9% body fat. How much more do you think I could squeeze out?
Muscle?
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
if I did everything perfectly right, I don't do everything perfectly right.
I know. Well, because you're a fighter. I mean, that's completely different training. You know what I mean? It's a completely different trainer.
All right.
So if you were to do a bodybuilding workout,
say I put that
4
away.
days on, 4 days on. This is all about your workout and calories, right? You'd be able to put on a pound a week for a while because you've never done everything right for body. You've never done everything right for building muscle. I know that.
I know.
If you had, then I would say no. You're going to do a half a pound every other week.
How big do you think I could get?
Oh, easily. I mean, you'd easily. Get
if I say I'm 208 pounds. If I stepped on the scale this morning, I'm 212.
No,
but this is Monday
before
morning.
your 35th birthday, you could be 100% naturally 230 pounds.
Damn.
Yeah. If you trained like a bodybuilder,
you get that.
That's all. And you took everything I just told you.
I'm gonna just deposit it.
And your calories are right. Yeah, that's all. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna.
Yeah, but I mean, you only imagine when if a novice that was your age, you just turned 30.
Yeah.
A novice your age, oh man, I put 30 pounds of muscle on that person in 4 months.
Right.
For sure.
No, absolutely. I was
It's
just
the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, I was just wondering how close you think I am to my
Max.
tip top, you know? So you think I could put on 20 more pounds
Oh,
of
absolutely. You did everything right.
muscle? Yeah.
If you did anything for hypertrophy, yes.
Yeah.
Correct.
People that hit that plateau, do you have any, just like a quick, I know we're going to probably do a whole thing on plateaus, a whole like sit down, but anything to say like when you do hit a plateau, any advice?
Well, when you hit a plateau, you got to jack the calories up. When it comes to weight gain, if you hit a plateau, you got to go up 250 calories minimum with about, so in other words, that would be like about, 250 calories minimum would give you like another, 10 grams of protein and carbs. You want to break it up evenly, because you need the extra calories. And that will help stimulate whatever growth potential there is.
Yeah.
500 calories is what I generally go up depending on what the plateau is. Smaller people, 250s you would go up.
Like try to cycle off the creatine too, maybe?
Well, yeah, you can always take a rest if you come to a plateau, but I just keep going until I realize it's not. And I rarely, it takes a long time to top out. I'll tell you that. The number one thing you do is, as long as you're doing everything else right, supplementing and training, is you have to add the calories.
Yeah.
And the calories will help stimulate the growth. Now, you might put a little body fat on there, which is a good thing. Just makes it easier to put on muscle.
Yeah.
It won't be, again, you're not going to do too much body fat.
And then, do you believe in trying to gain strength is the best way to try to put on muscle, trying to get stronger, like hitting new?
No, I don't know the answer. I'm not I think I know what the answer is in the way, physique athletes train to get bigger muscles.
Yeah.
And that is, you do one day high, one day low. You're always, so you do a heavy day, you'll do a light day. So you're just really mixing it up. You're really getting the muscle to kind of be shocked at different workouts and so forth. So, the old saying about low reps, builds the strength and bulk.
Yeah.
The only reason high reps doesn't do it because you're burning more calories. You might be losing the body fat, but as long as you challenge the muscle and it's unaccustomed, the workout has to be unaccustomed or there's no progression. It's got to be something your body's not used to.
Yeah.
So it's got to be a difference, and you should be going up in weight at some point.
Yeah.
We used to. That's why you see these little 1 1/4s in the gyms and so forth.
Yeah.
We would add when I got to where I was squatting with reps 600 pounds.
Yeah.
Right. When you're doing things like that, it's freaky especially for bodybuilders to be able to do that much. But I was always one of the stronger guys. It gets to a point you still got to add. So we get to a point where we're at a 1 1/4 now at each workout, like when you're doing your curls. You're doing a 150-pound curl. Well, okay, now you got to add. You can't add a lot of weight, but you'd add a 1 1/4.
Yeah.
Or something, and then it keeps going up. Then next week, 1 1/4. Next week, 1 1/4. Next week, that adds up over time.
Yeah.
And again, you can't go forever that way, but that's one way of doing it. Once you get to your peak.
All right. And
you do want to try. You do want to keep it. You do want to keep adding some more resistance with at least the same reps.
Yeah. Did I ask what is muscle protein synthesis?
Yeah, this is building. Well, muscle protein synthesis is the making of muscle. Exactly what it says. Yeah. Muscle protein. So if we're going to talk about skeletal protein, but muscle, you've got all kinds of muscle. But let's just stick with skeletal muscle. Means that you are building muscle, and then muscle protein breakdown is when you break it down. Whether you're working out or just a natural cycle, your body goes through the cycle breaking down muscle. It has to replace itself. Like within 30 days, pretty much all your skeletal muscle has been replaced with a new cell. Okay, that's what it takes. That's why I say it's breaking down constantly, building constantly. That's what it does if you don't work out. Yeah. When you work out, you just break down more. Yeah. And then you eat protein and it goes back up more because it gets depositing it in your lean. That's a positive. Now you're on the positive muscle protein synthesis. You have to have more muscle protein synthesis than breakdown if you want hypertrophy, if you want to increase muscle size.
And I was just going to ask part of the amino acids when you're talking about it. Do amino acids trigger that?
Yes, those are the 8 that do. The 8 that I called out earlier, that's what triggers muscle protein synthesis. It tells it to do it.
Yeah.
In other words, you're going to be catabolic all the way until protein comes back in, and those are the 8 amino acids that trigger it. And then you still need the other ones. Yeah. You got to finish the synthesis.
Yeah.
But you can make those in the body. And you'll get enough from your foods. They're scattered everywhere, ready to go.
Got it. All right. And then
think of those 8 amino acids as the chemical messengers that are in every protein you eat, but they're scattered all over the place. This is directing them straight to tell your body to build muscle. That's the chemical messenger in a complete protein that tells your body. So think of them as molecules. It confuses people when you say amino acids. Well, don't you need 20? No, these are the molecules that tell your body to build muscle, to just turn the machinery on. You still got to get all 20 in there. Again, they're coming just from, you can make it, or they're coming from your foods. Right. You don't have to worry about it.
All right, and I mean, that's pretty much everything we got for today. Anything else you think we should add, or
building muscle? If we had to recover, just to do a quick summary on that, you want your calories slightly above your maintenance. So if your maintenance is, let's say you're a 150 pounder and you're trying to put on 10 pounds of muscle, look at it that time. Look at it at 10 pounds at a time. You want to be 500 calories above maintenance. So your maintenance is, let's say, 3,500 calories. You want to go to 4,000.
Right.
And you want those 4,000 calories to be able to power your workouts better, recover better, and some of those calories deposited in lean body mass. That's why you have a surplus. Okay. And you should be able to gain a half to 1 pound a week. And if you don't gain a half to 1 pound a week, add 250 calories. If you don't gain it again, add another 250. If you don't gain it again, add another 250. As long as you're working out and doing all those things, at least you're opening the door. Your workouts open the door to anabolism. It allows you to put on more muscle. And if you're not putting it on, it means something in the post-exercise window is not working. A post-exercise part. In other words, you should be able to. Exercise opens the door to anabolism for your body to build. Yeah. If you're not building it, then it's something to do in your nutrition after that's not allowing that to happen. And again, at some point, genetics your age will play a role in that. But if you're not, unless you started when you're old. Okay, and then make sure you're taking you're getting your 1 gram per pound of lean body mass of protein, your omega-3s, and your complete multivitamin, and then add your creatine and all this fancy stuff, to keep that going and going and going and going and get to that final place.
All right, and there is how you build muscle optimally.
That's right.
All right.
Yep.
And then I guess that's a good sign off for us.
Think so.
And we'll catch you in the next one.
Yep.
Bye.